everybody. Welcome to Wrestling with Stereotypes. I'm Kel Dansby with my co-host Andreas Hale. And as you can see, today we have the former Impact X Division champion and the master, the ultimate finesser, Chris Bay, joining us from his new crib. Congrats, Chris. Nothing but the best to you. I mean, you worked for it, right? 2020 was crazy. So enjoy the new crib.
Appreciate that. What an intro right there, right? Yeah, former X Division champion. That one always catches me a little off guard.
Well, I mean, soon to be 2 times. Soon to be
2 times.
We know how it is. So look, for those of us who are joining this Wrestle with Stereotypes, you guys know it's a panel. And Chris, you were on our first panel.
Yeah.
So I want to start, before we talk about the journey from the first panel, which is like 2 years ago to now, how much has your life changed?
It's changed a whole lot, man. Like at that point, I was just kind of catching a wave of an online presence and a little bit more so of just really starting to get emphasis on the shows that I was doing throughout California and Vegas and Arizona, the general areas I was touching at the time, but it wasn't as main as it is now. Like I think I probably had like 7,000 subscribers, 8,000 or followers at the time, and now they're like 24.4 or something like that. So just how much the numbers have jumped, it's just a lot more eyes on the product now. Like doing the first panel with you guys was like one of my first times doing a panel, and it was like a big deal. Still is a big deal, but like it was super new to me, a super new feel. And now it feels like, even with the pandemic, like being in front of eyes all the time and being like a focal point and the center of attention has become more and more dominant in my everyday life with my career now. So it's crazy, man. Like things have changed a lot, but I wouldn't change it for the world. It's only upward from here. That's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, we saw you at that first panel. I remember 3 days before is when you took the Canadian Destroyer in downtown Vegas and it went viral. Yeah, so that was crazy. And then you were on the panel, but as soon as you were there, everyone had nothing but great things to say about you. Willie Mack and Kenny King, everyone else. Your star presence was just apparent to everyone. We've had D'Lo on the podcast since we started, and we'll talk about D'Lo later, but he says the same thing, like that star quality is there and everyone sees it. And, you got the art of finesse. You got to teach us the art of finesse before it's all said and done. You got to teach us how to be ultimate finessers.
Yeah. The book's coming soon.
So listen, man, before we even jump into that, today is the day that I look on Twitter and a certain individual by the name of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is responding to your tweets about, talking about cardio.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, what is it like to get a tweet from The Rock? I mean, the guy's a goddamn legend. And here you are, posting a tweet about making fun of his, his cardio routine, and he responds back.
Yeah. It's crazy, but he taught me, he was a part of a very select few people who taught me very early on in my career, that you're never too big for certain things. Like, I felt that way when I met the first couple wrestlers I met, when I first met, John Morrison in 2006, and when I met Crime Time in like 2008 or something like that, 2009, RIP, Shad Gaspard. But I remember when I was 18, I just graduated high school, and I tweeted The Rock about doing one of his Hercules workouts for the movie Hercules. He had posted the workout regimens, and I did one of the workouts. And I remember he tweeted me back about it. And I remember at that moment being like, man, someone as important as him, as busy as him, just took his time to notice someone like me. Like that right there, I was just like, man, you're never too big. You're never too big for this. So like today or yesterday, I was just having a good time, having a good workout with my boys, with Shogun and Hero Lou, some local Vegas talent. And we were just having a good workout, and then, we're outside goofing around in the parking lot, and I was like, yeah, this is how The Rock be, guys. And I just filmed that video. You can hear them laughing in the back. I'm just like, yeah, this is how The Rock be, and put that gen up on Twitter. The world, man, we're all connected by the internet. So when he responded again, I'm just like, man, like once again, you're just never too big because like it's not that. And maybe it is, but it's not that, he knows exactly who I am or something. So he's just like, hey, bud, like, this is what it is. But once again, it's him taking time out of his busy schedule and letting me know, letting the world know that you're never too big. It's cool. It just reminds me to stay hungry and stay humble and give that same energy back to people.
No, definitely. I mean, let's start from the beginning of your career. And you mentioned guys like The Rock. You mentioned seeing John Morrison way back when. What got you into wrestling even before then? What made you a fan? What was that aha moment for you?
Man, I liked how people would celebrate when they would win the big one. Like for me, something about that, because what we do being scripted or being and being an entertainment aspect is still so real, and you can't fake passion. Like you really can't. And even in movies, you have people who are very passionate actors, and they can do a scene that will live in our hearts forever. But the reality behind it is they really feel that emotion. They put themselves into that character so they can play that part, and that's why it comes off so genuine. So like for me, I remember specifically 2004, seeing Eddie Guerrero become WWE champion, and just how much people rejoiced with him. And then I remember watching Randy Orton become the youngest world champion and being like, man, like this is nuts right here. Like the celebrations of these people, like just I want that feeling right here. Like this feeling is so genuine, it's so authentic. And then watching Eddie Guerrero's DVD and watching and hearing about his story with his drug, his drug addictions and the pills and the alcohol. It just seemed like stuff that wasn't too far fetched from what I was hearing in my own family. And so it kind of hit home, and then seeing him, a guy who they said was never supposed to make it to the top, make it to the top. And then, of course, his unfortunate passing. I just remember watching that moment like every day on DVD, watching him become champion every day on DVD on loop, and just being like, man, I want to give this feeling to people. It wasn't that I wanted to give that feeling to myself of being the champion and finally making it underdog story. I wanted people to feel my moments that I create with my art. And I wanted them to feel that and feel as inspired as I felt, like, because I wouldn't be here today without those moments, and I just want people to feel me like that.
So you grew up in Virginia, and before wrestling became a thing for you, you know what? Let me ask you this, man, because a lot of people go into pro wrestling, they try another sport, and they go, all right, they fall back in love with pro wrestling because, especially as African Americans, in the 2000s and the 90s, you ain't really see too many opportunities for you to be in this profession. So was there anything else before pro wrestling, or was pro wrestling always the end game for you?
It was always the end game, but because of the lack of success, I should say, of enough African Americans, I always doubted it. Like because so many people would hit that plateau and just wouldn't be able to break that glass ceiling. I always would doubt it, and it was never as easy as me just being able to look at myself in the mirror and think that I was different or think that I was the one to break that. I never really wanted to do anything else, so I never really enjoyed sports that much either. Like I used to play basketball when I was really young, but around the time that Jordan retired was around the time that I kind of faded out of basketball. And then like wrestling, it was just always it. And then I started skateboarding in like 2007, but that was just my first thing to get me out of the house and like get me, active and doing stuff and, making friendships and staying out of trouble. Cause it was too easy where I'm from in Virginia to get caught up in the wrong crowd and just go down the wrong path. I know a lot of people from that area who have all the talent in the world, but they're a victim of their environment, and it's unfortunate. But for me, wrestling was always it, so I never really wanted to sacrifice myself in any other sport or in any other thing and hurt my chances of becoming a wrestler. That's why I stopped skateboarding at a certain point. I was like 15, 16, and I was getting so good to the point where everything was starting to get extremely dangerous. And I was just like, all right, I had to have a sit down with myself and be like, okay, do I want to keep trying to grind this 10-stair handrail and possibly mess myself up to the point where I'll never be able to even try wrestling? Or do I want to stop now, try to rehab my body and try to put on some muscle? Because clearly all these wrestlers are super big and you can't make it in this industry, what I thought. You can't make it in this industry without being this super jacked dude. And I'm only 5'8". I ain't getting no taller. I'm like, my dad's, I'm his height, my mom's height already. I passed her height. So this is where we at with it. Like, it ain't going no more than this. So if anything, I need to bulk up. So I had to stop skateboarding and be like, all right, now I'm start working out and getting closer to wrestling, but I never wanted to sacrifice it and do anything else. So wrestling was always the end goal. I just didn't know how possible it was really going to be because I didn't see enough of it from people like me.
With that being said, you touched on, growing up where you did and being in Virginia and the people around you. How does that still stick with you to this day? Because we've talked to several wrestlers. Rich Swann was one of them, talking about growing up in Baltimore and how that shaped him to who he is today and who he is as a performer. How much did those years in your environment then shape who you are now?
I think they played a very strong part on it because it showed me a lot of things. It showed me like how to survive, first of all, like how to survive and how to be tough, how to, face adversity and how to get it from nothing, I think it also taught me that being disingenuous with yourself will never result in what you want, because I was just telling someone the story earlier about how when I was in middle school, I didn't get a lot of, female attention because at that time I was like dead set on my YouTube wrestling content and being like, yeah, I'm the kid on YouTube with the wrestling belts. And like people at school were starting to catch on because my videos were getting pretty hot. And like by high school came, I was just like, oh, no, I only do it for the YouTube revenue. Like, yeah, I don't really care about it that much. So I had to like put it off to the back burner. But with that, I started to get more of the friendships and, relationships I wanted. But in hindsight, it never made me what I really wanted to be. So, it taught me that, that aspect of it about how, if you try to lie to yourself and you try to fake the front, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to get the results that you truly want. You might get what you think you want, but it won't be what you truly want. It wasn't until I moved here that I realized that because you know how wild this city is, there's just so many different type of characters. Everybody is different, and it's okay. It's okay to be different. Like we can't really be like, what's this person's MO? Because everybody's just wicked, like everybody's different. So at first I was like, okay, I like the vibe of this, and it taught me how to accept people for who they are and how to just be myself. And I think that helped me translate into wrestling for sure, because I realized that it's okay to be who I am, and it's okay even more so to be the guy that I came from, where I came from with this, and the person I tried to get away from being, because that's what made me who I am, and that's what makes me different from anybody around me, and that's what makes me authentic to there. Like a lot of stuff I say in my promos with Impact, or a lot of the mannerisms that I do and stuff I do doesn't necessarily register to everyone in the world, but I know for a large majority of where I'm at, people pop over it because it's very unique to where we're from and what we do. And I think that is just influential to the whole bigger picture of authenticity.
So there's that famous video that has gone around now of you opening the Impact World title. And these collecting title belts, man, I mean, that means your parents probably bought you these belts, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
What did they think about your dreams? Because, sometimes you go and tell the parents that you want to be a fighter, and they're like, why you want to get punched in the face and live it? Yeah. Taking bumps is a whole different world because, some people think wrestling is fake, and why would you want to do something that's fake, and what the future is in it? How were your parents supportive of your passion?
It was weird because I didn't know if they understood how serious I was about this, because they had never seen anyone else do it. So a lot of times in life, that's just how it is. It's hard for you to believe something that you haven't seen with your own eyes. So growing up, like, rest in peace to my dad, because he was the biggest supporter and driving factor for my wrestling addiction. I was just looking at it a second ago as I was, like I said, I just moved, so I have a lot of my memories with me. I was just looking at the stubs from all the tickets of all the shows that he used to take me to, and I found my photo book, and I was looking at pictures I used to take at events, and a couple of pictures that I would candidly take of him as he's sitting there watching the show. And I remember growing up thinking, like, man, and he's enjoying the show, but now in retrospect, I'm just like, or in hindsight, I'm like, this is just a father supporting his kid and, taking his kid to his big, his happy place. When I was like 12 or 13, I remember my dad telling me, like, you're getting too old for wrestling toys now. Like, you can't do the wrestling toys anymore. So I was like, okay, well, can we do DVDs? And he was like, all right. I was like, they're the same price, He's like, all right, cool, we'll do DVDs. So then that's when I really started, like, to be able to study a lot more, because at first I only had like 2 VHS tapes and like a DVD or 2. So like then this just became like every pay-per-view I would have, and then every network special or what our network specials now I would have, documentaries, whatever. And my mom just always was just like, that's whatever, that's what he likes. And it just got to a point where I knew it was what I wanted to do. So like when I quit skateboarding and started working out, my dad was like, oh, you're not gonna skateboard no more? I'm just like, nah, I want to start working out. I want to get big for wrestling. He's just like, all right, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So then I'm like, hey, can you help me get this pull-up bar? Hey, could you help me get these dumbbells? Like, hey, can you, like, I want to start working out now. Like, this is what I'm on now. He's just like, all right, as long as you're not getting in trouble, we good. We don't got no issues. I don't know whether or not they knew how serious it was to me and how much I really had to make it happen, because there'd be plenty of times where, like, after my dad, or a little bit before he passed, like after I graduated, he was still around, but he was very sick. But my mom, I would tell her, like, yeah, I'm going to save up money and I'm going to go become a wrestler. I've been looking at this school in Florida that I saw, the Team 3D Academy, or I just finished emailing this place called Ring of Honor, Mom, and they said I can start training when I'm this age. And like, I don't think, because I bring it up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna go wrestler. She's like, you're not moving, you're not going nowhere. And I just like, so I don't know how serious they really thought it was or how much they believed in me. And there was a lot of times up until signing with Impact that my mom was very, very concerned about me, because we have these calls, how hard independent grind is. We have these calls where I'm just I'm hurting, and physically, mentally, I'm just spent. Especially how hard I was pressing this issue, because I didn't want to make this a forever thing. I wanted to get it as fast as possible and learn as much as possible, because to me, the speed doesn't necessarily just means I get to the destination quicker, but it means that I get to the knowledge quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because the quicker I get to the destination is the quicker I surround myself with the people who can really take me to that next elevation. And then in turn, I can do the same for the next crop. So it wasn't until my dad passed, and until I bought a one-way ticket to Vegas, that I walked into my mom's room and was like, yeah, so I'm moving. And I just bought the ticket. And it wasn't until then that I think that she really like thought that I was serious. I don't know, because I just other than that, I was just working all the time or working out and not like, training. So it's hard to be like, oh, yeah, you're going to be a wrestler? Where's the proof? Like, it wasn't until she came out from Mother's Day to Vegas when I was a year in, and she got to actually see me wrestle live and hear the crowd like going nuts for me and be like, damn, he's really like doing this stuff, like, and now she's cool. She's super cool. She's super supportive. Like, she knows it more than I think she knows it. I remember I was on the phone with her recently, and she was putting me over to this lady who used to always, be nice to us when we go to our local grocery store. And she was like, oh yeah, my son's on Impact Wrestling, on Access TV, on Tuesday nights. And I was like, damn, the nights, the channel, everything. I'm like, you on there with me? I thought, damn, the spot and everything, like, it's cool. It's crazy. But it took a while, but it wasn't until I really made those progressive steps forward that I think that I just gave them no choice but to believe. But I realized through that in life, you can't depend on people to believe in you. You have to believe in yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. And even if someone's going to try to push you as hard as they can to make you do something that you supposedly want, you have to want it. You have to do it yourself.
With that being said, why was Vegas the destination? How did it come to fruition that, you decided my one-way ticket is to Vegas and to train at FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling, for people who don't know, an amazing place out here in Vegas. Some great talent comes out of there. How did you settle on going to FSW?
It was one of those things where I felt like all the stars aligned perfectly, and it was where I was supposed to be. I came to Vegas for my 20th birthday, February of 2016. And I know people are like, oh, you came for your 20th birthday, not your 21st birthday? Yeah, I did, because that's the type of guy I am. Like, I wasn't concerned about going to bars and going to clubs. Like, I was concerned about getting away and having a good time. And I was dating this girl at the time. And then one of my old friends who, had lived in Vegas was like, yeah, come out here. And I hadn't seen him in a while. So I was like, what better way to spend my birthday than be with you and then be with this girl that I'm with, what I'm saying? Bring all the people I care about together, and that'll be it. And I never been to Vegas. Let's just do it. Like, I think her and I went to Atlanta like 2 months before, and I hadn't really traveled. This is my first trips as an adult. So I'm just like, okay, all you got to do is get on the plane and go places and plan accordingly. Okay, cool. Let's go to Vegas for my birthday. Yeah. And I remember getting to Vegas and someone being like, Vegas has everything. They probably have a wrestling school here. And I looked it up and I saw it, Future Stars of Wrestling. But I was so busy that whole trip that I didn't get to come here. One thing that stuck out to me was on my birthday, I called my dad, and this is the last conversation I ever had with him. He passed away the next month, but I called him, and I remember, I don't even think I told him I was going to Vegas, but I remember like explaining to him how beautiful I thought Vegas was and how I had never seen anything like it. And I remember like hearing, the pain in his voice as he's dealing with what he's dealing with, and him just feeling, being happy for me, whatever. And I remember crying on that phone call because I just could hear in his voice how hurt he was. But something, I just felt something, like, you can't explain it, but you feel these things sometimes. And then a month later when he passed away, I was just like, damn. And selfishly, the first two things that went through my head when, he passed away, I'm holding his hand. The first two things that went through my head was that, one, I'm never going to get to reach out and embrace this man again, like I'm never going to feel another hug again or hear this voice again, or, and the second thing was, selfish as it is, he never even got to see me pursue wrestling. Like, what the hell did I just do these last couple of years procrastinating? So like his funeral was on, I want to say like a Friday, and then or maybe a Thursday, and I think I hopped on a plane, went to Connecticut to hang out with my friend who makes belts, because I needed to be around somebody who watches wrestling because it was Mania weekend, and I just needed to escape. So I hopped on the plane right from the funeral, went to Connecticut, watched TakeOver, watched Hall of Fame, and then Mania. Here we are, WrestleMania, biggest WrestleMania at the time, WrestleMania 32, Dallas, Texas. Opening match, Zack Ryder wins the Intercontinental Championship, and he gets in the ring with his dad, and I'm broken. I'm just broken watching this, because I'm just like, I'm never going to have this moment. I am never going to have this moment. I procrastinated so long that I'm never going to have this moment. And I remember just being like, man, I got to make this happen now. So I remember being like, okay, I need to move now, like as soon as possible. I need to get out of here. And I was just like, well, if I go to Florida, I don't know anybody in Florida. This school doesn't seem to offer enough days. It also has a huge deposit that you have to put down, forward. And I don't know. And then I called FSW to get more information on FSW. And Joe told me about how at the time, they had TJP and they had Kenny King. And once I heard the name Kenny King, I immediately didn't care about any other names, because I was like, man, I know Kenny King. Like, I know who that is. I never really watched much outside of a WWE bubble. But I knew who Kenny King was, and I watched Tough Enough when he was on Tough Enough. So like, I was just like, man, that's dope. Like, I'd love to learn from Kenny King. Like, you already got me sold on this. And then he was telling me like, yeah, Kenny King, D'Lo Brown, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, whoa, okay. And he's like, yeah, we got 5 days a week of training. We have these shows where we, our younger students, they can get opportunities to wrestle. And then we have the regular shows, and we got these bigger casino shows. And I'm like, bro, it seems like this is the best route to go. And I was like, well, how much is the cost? And when he told me the cost, it was a fraction of what everything else I had heard. And then the fraction or the cost of living here compared to Virginia is way better. So I was like, man, this was the last place I talked to my dad. I'm like, I feel like that's where I'm supposed to go. And and then I came here, and the rest is literally history to where we are today. But it was just all those things falling into place that made me realize that this was where I was supposed to be to start it.
Man, you left me with a lot to chew on. One, your birthday's in February. What day is your birthday, bro?
February 13th.
You share a birthday with me. So we already know February 13th. I ain't never met nobody with my same birthday. That's some other shit.
Same.
we going to figure that one out. 2, you can never be too old for wrestling toys. I got a whole shelf up here. I've collected wrestling toys my entire life. You can never get too old.
I know this now. Now
He has a problem, though. Like,
yeah, I
gotta stop him from Amazon.
It's an unhealthy addiction, bro. I have an unhealthy addiction to collectibles. I don't have all my stuff up in my new house, but that's a whole nother story.
Hey, man, you like what you like.
Exactly. You like what you like. So here's what I want to ask, because you've talked about your dad a lot. And for a lot of the show is called Wrestling Stereotypes. And the stereotype has always been black fathers aren't there for their kids, right? But you've talked about your father a lot.
Yeah.
And it seems like he has been your superhero. And I ask this question because of your Black Panther-inspired ring gear that you just wore, which you were a superhero to other people. And I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that you were an inspiration to your nephew.
Yes.
8 years old as well. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Because it seems like what your father was for you, you are now becoming for your nephew, in a sense, as an inspiration, and not just for him, but it seems like for the rest of the world as well, because you talk about that emotion and passion. You have opened the door for so many other young Black fans to be fans of yours because of that passion, because of that emotion, the things that you're talking about right now. So talk about being a Black superhero for your nephew and then pretty much the rest of wrestling fans.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things where, once again, like earlier, I was talking about how I didn't see anybody break those glass molds coming up, so I didn't know whether I was going to be the guy. It's weird turning into the guy, like it's weird having these things happen, like the New Japan, Cup, the same day as Final Resolution, the main event of Swan, the world title. Like, it's weird being that guy now, but I can't say that I'm not working for it, and I can't say that I don't love it, because I'm just what I've always wanted to see, and what I started to see, what I saw 2 years ago with Kofi, like things like this is just what I'm turning into. Like with the Black Panther gear and the Black Panther theme, when Chadwick Boseman passed away with the same cancer as my dad, I remember recently, at the time, I had just really started talking to my nephew this past summer, early before the summer, because I think I met him maybe 2 times max. Like, there was a cookout we threw for my dad when he got past his first surgery in 2014, and he was there at that. I want to say he was like 2 years old at the time, and then at my dad's funeral, I believe. So there's only the 2 times that I've seen him, my nephew, when he was 2, when he was 4, and didn't really talk too much, but a couple, maybe a little after the start of the year 2020, talking to my older brother, and him telling me like, oh yeah, Kai, he loves you. He loves that you wrestle and all that stuff. Like, he loves you. You mind if I give him your number? He got his own phone and everything. I'm like, yeah, give him my number for sure. So this kid will text me all the time. He'll send me all the gameplay download, every version of me in these video games. Like, he will do it all, like, and he's a smart kid. He goes to like an advanced school, and then I be teaching him stuff. Like, he'll ask me certain things, like, and then I'll tell him the answer to stuff, and he'll just be like, oh. And I would think to myself, I'd be like, he's learning. Like, he's actually paying attention to what I'm saying and picking up on what I'm saying. And then sometimes people are like, yeah, I saw on Twitter. Like, I remember one time he's like, yeah, I saw on Twitter you posted your beard and braid combo. He's like, I like that. I'm like, bro, you can't grow no beard. Like, you know, but it's stuff like that where I'm just like, man, he's really like influenced by the things that I do. And not that I didn't realize that how much we influence people with what we do, because it's what I wanted to do it for, but I really, really realized it this year and realized how important it was, or this past year. So I remember after Chadwick passed, the day after, talking to my nephew, he called me and we had a conversation about it. He was like, yeah, I saw your tweet that he passed away with the same cancer as grandpa. And the only picture I have with this nephew is from that cookout. And in this picture, it's me and all my brothers and my dad, and my dad's holding my nephew. So like, I always just feel super connected through through him. And I'm just like, man, because, you know, he loves LeBron. He talks about basketball and stuff. And I'm like, man, I want to get to a point where I can take this man to meet LeBron, like where I can be on that level to just be like, yeah, this is my nephew right here, and show him his, you know, his superheroes, and get to that level where I can just do that type of stuff. And once he said that on the phone to me about him reading my tweet about the Chadwick thing, I remember immediately thinking, because he was like, yeah, I have all the Black Panther posters on my wall. He's like, I loved him. And I was just like, man, I was like, I feel like that's what I have to do for my next set of gear, because I was looking at where I was about to go with my career, with my gear, and with my persona, how I was going to take it to the next level. And I was like, not only is that movie and that character and that role so, I don't even know the word really, like just monumental for everybody, but him as an actor and as a human being was just what I aspired to be. And I was like, if I can capture that and do something to honor it, do something that my nephew will love, and then when I'm done with this gear, I can frame it, you know, present it to my nephew, you know, like if I can do something that captures all of this. And then I was just starting to work with Main Event Gear. I've always wanted to work with Main Event Gear. So just starting to work with them, you know, they do New Day stuff, they do Edge's stuff, they do, you know, everybody, you know, so I'm just like, man, aligning myself in the same category as my favorites. How else do I start than going hard and doing something like this that isn't done, you know? And it was the best decision I made, you know. It changed my whole energy up and made me like really hit that next gear. But it's knowing that what he feels off things, and it just puts into perspective what other kids probably feel off the things that we do. And the kids that I've gotten the chance to meet, or, you know, the parents who message me about their kids, you know, or the people I've met at meet and greets, or, you know, before the pandemic, you know, the people who just I've captured, you know, their attention, and I see it, you know, while I'm in the ring working, and I look out and I see it, and I see how these people feel. I realized that, like, I used to try so hard to not be who I wanted to be, and I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do that, because once I just was who I wanted to be, I made my wildest dreams come true, and no one could ever tell me anything. Like we got on the call, former X Division champion. You know, we have the moment with Rich Swann in the main event for the World Championship. We have the segment where I hold up the World Championship. And I remember immediately after I did it thinking, I know there's a still shot somewhere out there of me holding up the title. And I can do that because those side-by-sides, because that has not been done yet. Not here, not with this title. This has not been done yet. I'm creating my own history. I'm opening the doors, like you said, and for people to dream, for people to believe, for people to be fans, to people to chase their dreams. I get messages every day of people saying, like, they just started training because of this, because of that I did, or they lost 100 pounds because of the content that I posted, the motivation, or they finally kicked their drug addiction, you know, or whatever. Like, I can't have a bad day. Not because it's impossible, but because there's too many good things that I'm affecting people with that make me too damn happy these days. Like, I just don't have a bad day anymore because I just am too blessed to have a bad day. If there's an issue, I know I can find a solution because I found how to live my wildest dreams, how to finesse into the system and do it my way and do it under my name, under my dad's name, have merch that people want to buy and have fans that want to support and people who are now starting their dreams and living their careers and talking about the day where they'll get to stand across the ring from me and having people make wish lists that I'm on and, you know, like having people want to make toys and, you know, man, I don't even know what it is that's happening, but I want it to keep happening. I hope that when it's all said and done, that I've more than anything, I've just influenced people to be them and to do it their way and to chase the world.
Yeah, you're far from all said and done though, because you've mentioned it. 2016, me and Andreas went to that WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We were, I think, sitting like third row, something crazy. But we were in Dallas. We saw that WrestleMania. We have pictures outside of there. We saw that Zack Ryder opener with his dad. I was very mad. Sami Zayn didn't win that, by the way.
Yeah.
They teased it like 8 times in that match. I was so bad.
Yeah.
But we saw that moment, and that seems like it was yesterday. And that's when you really kicked into gear. You've truly finessed the game where 4 years, you went from saying, I have to get serious 4 years ago, because we're coming up on Mania season.
Yeah.
So it's 4 or 5 years ago to holding a major championship and challenging for the biggest championship in Impact. The challenger, like champion Samoa Joe, you looking at AJ Styles, your name is with them in history. In
Kurt Angle,
years. Kurt Angle,
Bobby Lashley,
years.
Yeah, all that. Kenny King.
How'd you do it in 4 years? When you started, what was it where you're like, you know what, I'm the ultimate finesser. I'm hitting my training, these shows. How did it go so fast for you at the beginning? Because a lot of people don't get where you are so fast.
I think it's as simple as if you want something bad enough, you will make it happen. And I developed that mindset because of the fact that I had never been away from home. So once I left and I was across the country, the one thing that I would have nightmares about, and my sleep schedule was off until a year, 2 years ago, but the one thing I'd have nightmares about almost every day, 2 things actually, was 1, my dad being disappointed in me, and 2, having to go back and talk about how it didn't work out. Those 2 things scared the hell out of me, and I did not want to live that. So it was as simple as I got here in July and started working out and was like, okay, I'm going to work out and I want to get a little bigger before I start wrestling. And then I remember like on a Sunday, I was looking myself in the mirror and I was like, bro, it's August now. You just sat here for a month and you haven't even started. Like, what did you move here for? And I was like, they have classes Mondays through Fridays. You're going tomorrow. You are starting tomorrow. No more excuses. Like, what did you come here for? And then going the next day. And then I remember like first person I met, Karrion Kross, and like immediately like we just hit a vibe. And like the next day I remember trying to learn how to run the ropes, and I just could not understand it. And it wasn't something that frustrated me like other things can if I don't pick up on them. It was just something that I was like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to come in an hour early. I was just like, anybody come in like at this time? Oh yeah, we'll come unlock the door, whatever. Okay, cool. I just want to try to run the ropes and learn it. So I'm not holding people up during class trying to learn what I was already supposed to learn yesterday. And I just treated everything like that. And then it got to the point where with my job at the time working at PAXA, they were like, hey, well, we need you, Friday and, or we need you Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm like, I can't do those times. Can I do a different shift? Because class is from 4 to 8. So there's no way I can come in at 7 because I need to be there from 4 to 8. And there's no way that I can come in at 3 because I need to be there at 4 to 8. And it's got to the point where they were giving me like 2 days a week, a day a week. And then like I'm getting these bi-weekly checks that are just nothing to live off of. And I knew that I was just sinking But I was like, man, so I paid 3 months up front of my training. I was just like, okay, well, from all that I saved up and moving here and the cost of everything and not making a real income and trying to survive here, 20 years old, this is what I have left. And I don't think I'm going to make it to this month living on my own. Originally, I wasn't supposed to be on my own. I was supposed to be with the girl I was dating, but we broke up like 2 days before the move. So everything just was like, okay, like I had to get serious. And I remember thinking like, okay, well, if this is what I have left, I'm going to give it to Joe for my training, because if I go homeless, if I lose my apartment, I lose my car, which are all things that ended up happening, I will have training. And that's what I came here for. I will have the ring. I will have the opportunity to train, to wrestle, to do what I love to do. And I got my first match 2 months after training. And then I was on the next show. Then I wrestled for Big Valley here. And then I went out to Arizona and wrestled for Championship Wrestling from Arizona. And then I went to LA and wrestled for Maverick Pro. And then I went to Port Hueneme and wrestled for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And then before you knew it, PacSun just fired me. And now I'm on the road, every weekend, hopping in somebody's car to go help set up rings and go try to get booked. I'm crashing now at a place, an apartment with way too many people in it than how many people it fits. And I'm crashing on the kitchen floor, roaches all over the place. But I didn't care, because it was just wrestling. And I would rather have lived that way than go back and do what I was doing before, which was not wrestling. The one thing that I searched for all my life and wanted to make me happy. The way I think I made it in this business was because I put wrestling before everything. As soon as I get here, my uncle dies. I don't go back for the funeral. I go to training. It happens again with another uncle. I don't go back to the funeral. I go to training. Every time so many family members pass away, I go to training. I go to a show. I go help set up the ring here. I go search for this opportunity, because this is just what I needed more than anything. This is really what I needed more than anything. And the way I did that was by tackling all my weaknesses. If I can't run the ropes, I'm coming in early to do it tomorrow. If I can't learn how to do this, I'm gonna do it. If I want to wrestle matches, so I'm gonna do a practice match every single day when I come into training, and I'm gonna film it, and I'm gonna send it to this trainer and this trainer, and I'm gonna watch it back, and I'm gonna learn what's wrong with it and how to fix it, and how to get better. I'm gonna study every day. I'm gonna watch wrestling. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna pay attention and give this my all, because I don't have anything else. I had 3 guitars. This one I just got myself for Christmas. My first one in years. I had 3 guitars. I pawned them all to help me pay for rent living on that kitchen floor. You know what I'm saying? I pawned my TV, pawned my Xbox, pawned everything I had. All I had to my name was a bed, gave it all up. Didn't care, because I had to make it in wrestling, and none of that stuff mattered to me. None of that stuff brought me the feeling that wrestling brought me. And I remember pawning my last belt, or selling my last belt, and I remember putting it in the envelope or in the box and looking at it one last time and being like, man, one day I'm gonna win one of my own. And at the end of the year, October 6th or 7th, 2017, won my first championship at FSW, the Tag Team Championships, a belt that was just created for our company, from my best friend who I sat in Connecticut with and watched WrestleMania 32 on the network with, a guy who I was like, oh, you make belts, right? Yeah, our company over here needs more belts. Winning my first championship from the same dude who my boy. I'm just like, bro, I'm creating something of my own here. I'm setting goals for myself. I have a note I can show you guys on my phone that I tell all the students to do now, where I'm like, yo, write down everything. Write down all the moves you know how to do, all the moves you want to learn, catchphrases that you want to have for yourself, random one-liners that you have for promos, gear ideas. Write down everything. I have it still on my phone. Just tons of stuff writing down. Like, write it all down. Pay attention. Work on your weaknesses. Like, if you care, and give it all. I gave everything to this. Some people say they give their all to things. They don't. I gave everything to this. My blood, sweat, tears, my teeth, you know what I'm saying? My lip, you know, with the triple threat with Willie and Ace Austin, you know, splitting my lip from here to gum. What did Tommy Dreamer say? You know, going to get stitches, coming back to do the promos and the segments. I give my everything to this. You know, I don't treat this as play. This is my life. This is what I've always wanted. And I think that's why I finessed the system, because I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I put myself in the position to make sure that I was never, ever going to miss an opportunity. Impact hit me up for the Unbreakable specials when they were in California, summer of 2019. They were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They hit me up on Thursday asking if I could come out. And I was supposed to buy a passport with the money that I had saved so I could start going to, you know, Mexico and doing other stuff for AAA or whatever. And I used that money to get myself to California to wrestle for Impact so I can get looked at from them again. You know, like, I put everything on the line for this every single time. And I don't regret it at all.
God damn. Man, listen, man. It's inspiring listening to everything, because, like, it's all manifesting itself because you risked it all to get there. The interesting thing is this. You talk about making this path, and at the beginning of this, we talked about black wrestlers had, like, the ceiling on them, right? It was like you can only get so far because there's only enough room for this character and maybe this character with this gimmick. There weren't too many black wrestlers who had different characters and different gimmicks.
Yeah.
Your gimmick is a lot different than everybody else's as the Ultimate Finesser.
Right.
And I want to see what he's going to get.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm right here.
Oh, you got to get some water. Okay, yeah. So a lot of the characters in gimmicks of wrestling, they've been very one note, but you're a very diverse character. But before you develop the Ultimate Finesser, were there people in other companies that tried to give you a certain character or have you act a certain way? Because I've heard the Thug stories, I've heard the Hoodlum stories, we've heard the Ugandan headhunter stories with Kamala. What was it with you, and how did you go against the grain to create who you are today?
I think it goes back to being authentic to who you are and where you come from, right? So for me, at first, I was trying to portray this character. Chris Strong was the name, the genetic genius. My first year, this is who I was. And I was taking the super buff, like, wrestler generic promo pictures, like, I'm going to fight you, and I'm a wrestler here. And it wasn't it. It wasn't the hit. And it wasn't that anybody ever was going to give me a character as much as it was I was just decent enough to get given a spot to make other people look good, which is never an issue. If you make people look good, you make people look good. But it wasn't what I wanted. Once I started being Chris Bay, I realized that there is no other, there is no other me. And what I was going to become was going to be something that was either going to be booked or not booked. I wasn't interested in being so much of just a helping hand to where I would have to be stuck with a character that I didn't want. I will say that a lot of times, and I don't know whether it's coincidental or not, but a lot of times I did just get teamed up with black people. Just like, oh yeah, you and this person are now on a team at this company that I drove 9 hours out to be at. Or this person and you now on our team. And sometimes it was great. Other times it wasn't. I've had tremendous success through tag teams because 3-time tag team champion, I think. Tremendous success because I just have good chemistry with other people and I know how to make myself different, but also bring enough swagger to the situation. And what they want or what we think they want, like manipulating, whereas they don't have to say this is what you're supposed to be or this is what we see and vision, but I'll give you just enough that it's going to be so good you think it's what you actually wanted when it's actually what I want. And that's what I tell a lot of people nowadays. Like, I'll tell this to the students, tell this to the younger people. I'll be like, look, not only is this stuff flavors of ice cream, but the best thing you can understand is that if you do it with no holes in your game and you do it well, and by no holes in your game, I mean if it works and it's good, no one can tell you anything. It's as simple as that. Because if somebody tells you, if I have a basketball and you tell me I have to shoot the ball specifically a certain way, and I just throw that bitch and I make it every time, you can't tell me anything. Because I did my job. The job is to make it. I made it. I don't care. I don't have to shoot the way you told me to shoot. Because this is the way it works for me. Boom. Every time. It's going to hit. It hit. We in. Doesn't matter. So, like, it was a lot of that where I was just like, okay, well, they're going to pair me with this person. I know what I think they want. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch these people in the crowd. And I'm going to make sure when this is said and done, the people make enough noise that the situation worked how I made it work. And now they think they got something that they asked for. Because if it's making dollars, it's making dollars. That's the way I see it. So that was how I kind of navigated around, like, being given certain gimmicks or being stuck with something that I didn't want to be. And then the character just kind of evolved from the street lingo. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to talk about finesse, or everyone wants to, in our culture, it's all about finesse, So I was just like, man, that's something that hasn't been used in wrestling before. And I can be the one to give it a meaning in wrestling. I can be the one to take that and make it into something. And I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be at first. I think I just liked the tagline. And it took over a world of its own to the point where your boy comes into Impact, finesses his way into championship matches, goes unpinned and unsubmitted all the way up into Slammiversary. Finesses that scenario, becomes the X Division champion, Finesse Division champion, continues, finesses his way into the main event of the last pay-per-view special of the year, and all in less than a calendar year with the company, making history, finessing his way over here on New Japan in the same night. Is it finesse? Is it luck? Is it planning? Is this all scripted? Did I mean for it to work out this way? No. But did I finesse? Yes. And that right there is on page 57 in the book that is The Art of Finesse. Dropping soon.
Dropping knowledge on the pod. So before we touch on, like, your running Impact, like, before we wrap up and talk about where you are now, where you hope to go, one thing I was looking at, some of your recent matches, and did a YouTube dive on you before we recorded this. And it jumped out to me because we talk about, seeing reflections of ourselves and growing up and what Black wrestlers were. I was watching your stuff at Impact in this past year, and it jumped out to me. And there's a couple other acts now who are starting like this. But when I looked at you, it was like when I watched Shawn Michaels in the 90s. Yeah. And I say that is where you watch him, and Shawn wasn't Black, but the charisma of being flamboyant, everything, you'd be a Black kid anywhere, be like, yo, I want to be Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, yeah.
And you pick up on that. And, like, looking at you, it's that same thing. It was like, yo, the charisma, your latest gear where you got the cutout with the abs, get on the turnbuckles and like, Black kids can see themselves in you, of course, but it's one of those things where I was like, yo, there's going to 20 years from now, there's going to be white kids who watched you and rocking the same gear because Chris Bay had that gear.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, do you feel you've hit that other stride? Because a lot of times, it's weird. We said this on a panel a few times, but white wrestlers always got to just be wrestlers. You can be whatever. You don't even have to have a gimmick if you're a white wrestler, like at all. You could just be a white wrestler, and that's cool. But if you were a minority, you had to have a gimmick. You had to fit a spot on a roster. You are breaking that mold. Is that something that where you're moving forward now that you hope to continue pushing, where you don't fit a spot? You're not the prototypical this or that, where you've now got this creative freedom. And you touched on it earlier. You said you just want to try something and it clicked. Is that something consciously in your head where you're like, yo, I can do stuff regardless and I have no boxes on?
Yeah. It took me a while to realize, but it was the reason why I wanted to get signed so badly, because I had wrestled some of the best wrestlers in the world, my last 2 years on the indies. So for me, I was like, man, the next thing to learn is character development and long-term storytelling on TV, where people will be able to understand who this person is and see how they interact in this scenario, in this segment, and this, what makes them mad, what makes them happy, what makes them, excited, how do they, and I was like, I need to learn that stuff now. And once I finally got the opportunity to come over to Impact, and it took me a couple, sets of tapings to grasp it, but it was at a point where I thought about it and I was like, man, when I get in the ring and the bell rings, people are going to see wrestling. That's how this business goes, But what they see outside of the wrestling, what they see from the individual is going to make them care, Like, it was never, and it's something that a lot of people, I don't know whether it's, what it is about nowadays, but like a lot of people are just fantastic wrestlers, but they don't have that personality. They don't have that, that certain thing that they let shine within themselves that can connect to people. Instead, we're just seeing fantastic wrestling all day long, but it's just missing what I cared about. Like, I cared about Eddie because we all felt like we knew Eddie. Everybody feels like they know Eddie. People talk about Eddie 15 years, 16 years now after he's passed. We didn't even know him. I never met him. Have y'all met him? I haven't met him. You know what I'm saying? But we felt like we knew him. Why did we feel that way? Because of the way he acted, the way he interacted with people, the way it wasn't the wrestling. It was the way he made us feel. People aren't making people feel enough anymore. And with stuff that I do, like you said, the gear, the cutout gear, it's to the point where now I'll look at my gear and I'll be like, bro, before it's easy for someone, and even now with that jacket, it's easy for someone to say, oh, I can think of, Shawn Michaels. I can think of who's the guy from New Japan. He has like similar ab cutout thing. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now.
Tanahashi.
I think so, Tanahashi.
Yeah.
It's easy for people to say stuff like that and bring up these names to compare, but I think that I finally hit that level where with my gear, you can look at it and say, that's the Chris Bay mold. When we play these video games and we create our characters and we go, oh, I'm going to put the John Cena sneakers on him. I'm going to put the Edge kick pads on him. Now I feel like with my gear, I'll look at it like, that's the Chris Bay. That right there is the Chris Bay. Like, it's my own image, and it's being created for me just thinking about what's not wrestling that people like. Black Panther, people love it. The gear that I wore recently that people resembled to Shawn Michaels. For me, it was a skateboarding sneaker that I always wanted when I was a kid that I never got my hands on, the Super Kamikaze. So like for me, I'm like, okay, I'm touching into that. The next two sets of gear we have, one is inspired by Jordan that just came out, and then another one is inspired by Paramore. Once again, it's things that are outside of wrestling that are from so many different genres. Like I put up a tweet and of a Paramore GIF, just a GIF, and nothing about what it means, and it got so many likes and so many interactions. And I'm just like, my fans are predominantly wrestling fans, and they're caring about this right now. That's going to get me a connection with these people that's bigger than the wrestling, that's bigger than all of that. Like, they're going to support what I do in the ring regardless, but this is going to make them care more about me because I'm relatable. They understand that we like the same music. We come from the same vibes. You know, what that music makes you feel, it could make me feel the same thing. Like, being authentic to yourself and finding what works best for you is going to help this whole business keep growing like this. You know, everybody wants to be the next big star. Well, it has to go beyond the wrestling. It has to be how you touch the world. You know, it's the same as when athletes or, you know, people on television promote brands. You know, you see Travis Scott on a McDonald's commercial. Now you want McDonald's because you like Travis Scott. Regardless, you know, it's the association there. You know, and that's how I want to do with wrestling. That's how I want to do with my connection with people. That's how I feel like everyone should do it. Like, if you want to be a wrestler and you liked this wrestler's certain look, it's not a bad thing to be inspired by it. But what else do you like that makes you you? Because there is no other you. So what else do you like that makes you you? Because when you do that, now you're going to tap into a whole other realm of people and bring other people into our genre, bring other people into our world that have been missing out because all they see is good wrestling. What they can't even describe as good wrestling. They might call it gymnastics these days. But once they see what you wear or how you talk or how you look, and it reminds them of something, or it gives them a look that's so unique that they say, man, I want to look like this. Now we're playing a long-term game, because now I know how it is for me. Like, I seen Leon Thomas on Victorious and all that stuff, and I was like, bro, that undercut is sweet. I want an undercut. And I got an undercut, and then I was getting the undercut when no one had the undercut again, because undercut was like, what, 70s, 80s maybe, like Living Color, and then had like, you know, the undercuts and the, you know, whatever. Like, but it had already been long out of style. I remember the day I got it, came to school the next day, senior year, and everyone was like, bro, you tweaked. Now you got to cut all your dreads off, bro. Like, why'd you do that? The next year, everybody got undercuts. The next year, Kofi got his undercut. I'm like, bro, I was on the trend. I was like, bro, this is what it is. But I saw Leon Thomas with it, and I like Leon Thomas. I like his music. I like his acting ability. I was like, I seen some of his interviews. I was like, I like this guy. This guy's a cool guy. I like that look. I'm inspired by that look. Now, this is a direction I might want to go in. It's okay to do that. It's okay. And then you just make things your own. But it's okay to take from these outside things and bring it into this big ball, because then you just touch so many other people and inspire so many different genres. I hope that answers the original question. I think it does.
Yeah, it fits in there.
That's the way I kind of think of it, you know?
It does. One question I do want to ask is, you wrestled on 205 Live. Cody was praising you on Twitter. It seemed like at one point you were truly one of the hottest free agents in pro wrestling. One, did you get offers from any other company besides Impact? And two, why Impact? Why did you decide to go with Impact and nobody else?
I didn't get any other offers. And I don't think I've ever publicly stated that. Having conversation with people, yes. Actually, any other offers? No. And I went with Impact because not only did they give me the offer, but I had already put up so much work up to that date to get with them, that I knew that they knew I was serious. And the way we communicated, I knew that they were serious about me. And it wasn't just that thing where it's like, we want you because everyone else wants you, and you're a hot commodity, right? We want you to take you away from everyone else. I felt like it was something where it's just like, we want you to help you become what you want to become, and to help you, and in turn help us. And I wanted to help them. You know, I wanted to be a part of this new growth. A company like AEW, as great as it is still brand new, especially at the time of me signing with Impact. It's still brand new. So this business is all about longevity, you know. Random thought. What is it? Wrestling Society X? I never knew what it was till like 3 years ago, but apparently it was a thing at some point. Yep. That a lot of people came from. But where is it now? You know, like, where's the longevity? The company I'm at was supposed to die 15 times in the 3 years before I got there. That was supposed to, I remember reading about it and being like, oh, this company's done. This place is done. Damn, there goes that place. You know, before I was in wrestling, while I was in wrestling, there was a conversation I had with one of my friends when Impact was so low at the point. Whenever they were dealing with somebody, one of my best friends, and he was like, "Would you ever wrestle for Impact?" This before I became a wrestler, before I started training, and I was like, "Nah, never." You know, like, "Nah, never." But when they started to come back up and people started to be on a certain page, I remember the first time I wrestled there, meeting the Rascals. You know, I had seen them online. I was supposed to wrestle Trey like 3 months before that, but something happened with the flights. He didn't end up making it. So I never ended up getting to wrestle him, but I wanted to wrestle him. And then I remember finally meeting the Rascals, wrestling them in their debut for Impact. And I was like, man, not only are these guys super cool, but the whole energy of the locker room is dope. LAX was back there, you know, these people back there, that person over there, John, you know, I'm just like, bro, Cross at the time, I'm like, this is a cool place to be. So from there, I already knew I wanted to be there. And then I just kept taking proper steps to wrestle there. Wrestle Luchasaurus there, came in for the summer stuff when they hit me up, you know, and that I was just talking about earlier. And I was like, man, this is a place that I want to be. I like this locker room. Every time I'm here, it's good energy. Everybody's on the same page. Everyone's nice to me. Everyone's kind to me. I had wrestled for Ring of Honor. Not to say that they weren't the same way, but I didn't feel the energy that I felt that Impact, you know what I'm saying? And then wrestling for 205 Live, it was dope. The dream come true, right? That was everything. That company was everything that I ever imagined or everything that I always, you know, dreamed about every night. There's not a day that goes by in my life, and I know all of us are like this at this point, where that logo doesn't subconsciously pop up in your head. You know, it's just ingrained in us now. It was cool. And then to do it under my name, have, you know, people all over the T-Mobile Arena in a city that I moved to start this journey, people all over chanting my dad's name, chanting my name. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's dope. I'll never forget it. But Impact was where I wanted to go because I knew that not only did they have longevity, not only do they want to work with me, not only have they given me all these opportunities in the last year to come work with them and show them what I can do, not only did I love the energy there, but I wanted to be a part of the reason whenever I do leave Impact, that people like Impact and that people are proud to say Impact and that people can be like, Chris Bay was a staple for Impact. When they think of, same way we talked about earlier, the names Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, we'll never forget those names associated with Impact Wrestling. That's how I want my legacy to be. I want that to be a part of my journey where people be like, wherever I end up being, whatever I end up doing, whether it's, you know, the top stage of this company, the top stage of that company, or the top of the box office, or the top of the charts with music, whatever it is with my life, I want people to be like, but I was rocking with him since Impact. You should have been around when he was on Impact. That was when he first got on. That was when he was doing this and he was doing that. I wanted to be a part of that. And I see that now. I get the message every day. You're the reason why I started watching Impact again. Or you're the reason why I started watching Impact. Or I'm the reason why my niece and nephews know what Impact is instead of just being like, oh, when are you going to wrestle at WrestleMania? They're like, oh, no, you wrestle on Impact. Is that part of WrestleMania? No, they don't. You know, they don't know the difference, but they know what Impact is. You know, they know that it's something else. And I wanted to be a part of that. I feel like it's very important to help build things and leave things better than they were when you got there. And I feel like it's a test and a challenge for myself to do that. So I'm still in the process of working on that. But I think we're doing a good job, especially if this wasn't a pandemic and we had live crowds, because I know how I connect with people. And I know that, like, if we were having live crowds and people were actually in attendance, I might have the world title on me right now as we speak, because, like, I know how I connect with people, you know, like, I know how that is. So I know that I'm going to leave this place better than, you know, before when I got here. And we're all going to do that together. You know, we're all working that way.
Just a couple more questions. I guess I'll ask my last question and let Dre wrap it up.
I'm chilling, man. So I don't know who's going to sit through all this, but if you want to ask some questions, I'm cool with it, bro.
Sounds good. You touch on that in the atmosphere backstage. We talked to D-Lo, and when I say we mention your name, the smile on D-Lo's face is ear to ear when he hears the name Chris Bay. What is your relationship with D-Lo like, and how does that add to your comfort of being at Impact?
My relationship with D-Lo is cool. It's dream come true. I FaceTimed him the other day, which to me was like surreal. And shout out to Ice, Ice Williams. Got to give him a plug always because he's the reason why I FaceTime him. He's like, just call him on FaceTime. I'm like, nah, bro. He's D'Lo Brown, bro. I'm gonna text him and I'm gonna give him a regular phone. It's like, bro, FaceTime him, bro. And I'm just like, all right, let me ask first before I do this, and then then FaceTime him. But like, it's cool, bro. Like, he was the one who approached me with coming to Impact. He was the one who let me know that it was the time, and he's the one that I talk to when I have questions, and he's the guy that I get advice from, and he looks after me a lot and makes sure that I'm not I'm gonna do anything stupid, or not that I will, but it's my first contract, it's my first national, it's my first big deal, so it's easy to just make a wrong mistake, when you just don't know and you're so young in the business. But it's great being able to talk to him and being able to learn from him, because I was a D'Lo Brown fan growing up. I am a D'Lo Brown fan of the human and the wrestler. Like, I love shaking my head like crazy and giving myself concussions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the lowdown. And I always inadvertently say that pun whenever I'm talking about him. I'm like, whenever like I have to talk to somebody about what D'Lo said, I'm like, yeah, no, he gave me the lowdown. I'm like, no pun, because he's always dropping in that knowledge on me. So like, that's always what comes natural. But I love being able to work with him and learn from him. And I'm so grateful that him being here in Vegas was something that we were able to meet many years ago, and he was able to start taking a look into my stuff and help me out, and just be a great mentor for me, especially being another brother. I'm saying? Like, that stuff is really important. And makes me a lot more comfortable than learning from just anybody else, because someone else can give me some advice or tell me what's up, but it might not hit the same, because if I do it the way they did it, it might not be the same result versus, if I just listen to someone who's been there, done that, what I'm saying, someone who's just like me, it makes it a lot more smoother. I love working with D'Lo, and I just hope that you told me already, but I'm glad he likes working with me,
So this is my last question. I'm gonna let Kel take it home. December, you're standing across the ring from Rich Swann. Both of you guys are under 6 feet tall, extraordinary athletic, and different and black, fighting for the company's biggest title on one of their bigger shows of the year. When we talk about representation matters, I think those are the moments that we're talking about, because not only are you just representing African Americans, you guys aren't big cock diesel guys. You're not Bobby Lashley size. Mm-hmm. There was a time where the athletic wrestler was just a luchador that would never compete for a world title. When you've heard that you were going to have that match with Swann, there's two questions. One, what does it mean to wrestle somebody like Swann, who's an incredible athlete? But two, you guys are doing this on this big stage as two black wrestlers for that title. Did you understand the magnitude of what was about to happen?
I can say that I did, but you never really do. Because you can't really predict how many people you're going to touch with moments like that. You cannot predict it. And I think for me, like, from the moment that I knew it was going to happen, I was excited, because a year ago, I just saw it on my Facebook today, I was promoting that I was supposed to wrestle Rich for a GCW show. It was supposed to be January 23rd, 2020. And this is right before he got injured. And so I never got to have the match. But the month before that, I had a triple threat, me, him, and Trey Miguel. Easily the funnest match, and at the point, my favorite match of my career. And when I got into wrestling, when I started at FSW, Rich Swann was maybe months away from winning the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. I remember September of 2017 going to UNLV and watching SmackDown and watching him and TJP wrestle. And, fast forward, and I'm wrestling both of those guys, back to back damn near, and learning from these guys, but then hitting them with the cutter, and then laying there and snatching the title and holding the title up. Someone asked me, they were like, why are you like shaking so crazy? And I was like, bro, that title is powerful. I was like, that moment is powerful. Like, I've never felt more strong in my life than when I held that title up, because like, I'm holding it up. I got the song playing. I got Rich right there in front of me. And I got the world title in my hands. And I'm setting the tone for this big match we're about to have. And I'm just like, yo, this is intense. Like, this is super, super duper real right now. And then to have the match, and from the moment we started, I was just like, this is really good right now. All the way until, the very end. He hits me with the Phoenix. I lose, and I'm just laying there like, that was my opportunity to prove to the company what I already know, which is that I am the future of this business, and that I can main event and I can go. I went with Eddie, I went with TJ, Rohit, Willie, now Rich. Anybody you throw at me, I can do it. But not only that, but I just did it right now in something that should be match of the year. My personal now favorite match of my career. And sitting there thinking about it after. First person we talked to is D-Lo. He's stressing the importance of what's going on and what that match means. But when it airs, now I'm at home and I'm watching black dude I went to middle school and high school with sending me videos. He's watching it on his TV, the match, and he pans over and his dad is sitting there on the couch next to him. I'm watching. And then I see my nephew, did you beat Rich Swann? Texting me. I hope you beat Rich Swann. I see old people who I used to have beef with in high school watching this match. I see a group of my friends from back home in Virginia throwing a whole watch party watching this match. Then I get that message that I posted of the person who was telling me they're also from Maryland, but they also want to be a wrestler. They also aren't the biggest person in the world. But that right there showed them it was possible. I told Rich after he won the world championship at Bound for Glory, thank you for showing me this, because I needed to see it still. I feel like that match is my greatest accomplishment yet, and that it will live in the history books, but not because people will be like, it was the second or third time that, black people main evented together for a world championship, because I hope that we get to a day where it happened so many damn times no one remembers what the first, second, and third were. They're just like, who, what? Nah, because it's happened now 40, 50, 60 times. Someone tried to ask me, they said, why are you acting like this is such a big deal? Wrestling's fake. And I was like, man, black people dominate UFC. They dominate boxing. They dominate basketball. They dominate everything except the one thing that's predetermined. Why do you think that is? And I said, I don't care what your answer is. I just want you to understand that if you don't care about what this means, there's someone that this means something to. This just ain't for you. That match every day gives me a different feeling. I still don't have the exact words to put on what that match makes me feel and how much it affected my career, because I'm just letting it sit. If you look at my Instagram, I stopped posting as much. the last couple things I posted was about that match. I just don't want to stop seeing it at the top of my timeline, you know? And for me, doing Slammiversary against Willie Mack for the X Division Championship, and then doing Final Resolution against Rich Swann for the World Championship in the main event, not only did I do it, not only did I do it my way, not only did I do it all in my first year here, but I set the tone. I set the tone. Then, before that, the four-way, me, Moose versus Willie and Rich. There's nothing that isn't attainable if you give your all to this. If you give your all to this, you got it. I give my all to this. For a guy like Rich to work with me and for us to have the chemistry that we had, I can't thank him enough for being a role model, for being as talented as he is, for loving this business, for giving himself to this business, and for entertaining me many years before we ever met, and for when we met, being as cool as he was. I say the same thing about Willie, and I just hope that we get to wrestle each other 10,000 more times before either one of us are done with this.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you guys are at the top, so I'll watch every one of those matches. Y'all aren't losing the spot.
My objective is to have a different set of gear on in each one. If I can get saucy enough to get like that, then we're really talking.
Oh, that's Ric Flair levels. When you just start getting different gear for like every pay-per-view match.
Hey, you look good, you feel good, you play good. You play like a champion.
Exactly.
All right. I want to just leave on like a lighter note. You have so much going your way, looking towards the future. And, you know, Cody said it himself. You're the hottest free agent. You're one of the brightest young stars in pro wrestling. But as you look forward, if you could wrestle anyone in any company right now, who would it be?
It's a very good question.
One is hard. I was going to give you three, but I was like, nah, I need to make this question hard. One person.
If it was three, I could have answered it perfectly. But since it's one,
You got to pick one, and then you can let us know who didn't make it with the other two. But I want to know your top choice.
If I could do it right now, I would pick Kenny Omega for simple reasons, because it's the most reachable right now with all the circumstances going on, because we can't live in a fantasy world, right? So, but with everything that's going on right now, it's the most reachable. He has a very decorated list of accomplishments under his belt, and that's a scenario for myself where I could learn and become better and test myself against someone that many have claimed is the best in the world. So it can be the best in the world versus the best in the world. I think that would be a great opportunity for me to reach a new market and to reach a new level as a performer and give people a dream matchup and give people something that they thought they might never see. And because I get the message all day long, not just from AEW fans, but just from people, and I've got it for years where people just want to see that match. So I can finally give people what they want to see and give myself a test. And I'm all about the test because I keep learning and I keep becoming a better performer. And in turn, I can teach him lessons in the art of finesse.
That's what Kenny Omega's missing right there.
One thing he's missing.
Who would be the other two?
Okay, so the other two would be Cody, and that's for easy reason because the story just tells itself, right? Yeah. And for me personally, huge Cody Rhodes fan growing up, can't say that the dashing thing didn't come from him. Can't say that it did. Can't say that it didn't. but I can say that he gave it to me a year ago. He dubbed me it a year ago, so I'll take it. You know, once again, it's another scenario where I can learn. And then the third person, Randy Orton, and that's it's because that's just when I was 24 years old, or when he was 24 and won the world title, and I was 8. I was not only did I cry when he won the world title, but I was like, man, I have to become something great at the age of 24. Staples Center, he wrestles Undertaker at WrestleMania. He loses. SummerSlam, he wrestles the rematch in Washington, D.C., the first show I go to live with my dad. And he wins with the help of his dad, my dad being a huge Undertaker fan, me being a huge Randy Orton fan, rubbing it in his face. Fast forward to my first extra talent work with WWE. I do a tryout match in the Staples Center, same building as WrestleMania 21, with my boy Nino Black, first tag team partner, local Vegas wrestling. Fast forward to September 24th, 2020, age 24. Randy Orton follows me on Twitter. We come back around to the match. That's all I need.
It's right there.
Right, damn.
The art of finesse cutter versus the RKO. Both of them come from out of nowhere. Who hits it first?
You sold me on it.
Yeah.
Sign me up. You sold
We
me.
need it now. Now we need it. There's no question. Now we got to make some calls, man. We got to make the match happen.
Got to.
No, man, it's been a great show. Like I said, we could probably sit here talking for hours. We appreciate you joining us as always. Nothing but great things in the future. Make sure you guys follow Chris Bay wherever you can. Watch Impact Wrestling on Tuesdays, like Chris's mama told you to.
Yeah.
If you need help, she'll tell you all the details.
No, watch that on Tuesdays. Watch Hard to Kill January 16th. We have a big main event. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns. 2 guys that I used to wear their dog tags to school and middle school, the Motor City Machine Guns, that is. And we have myself in a triple threat match with Manic and Rohit Raju for the X Division Championship that I plan on turning back into the X Division Championship. Winning it for the second time, carrying it all through 2021. Maybe, just maybe bringing back Option C. We'll call it Option CB. And becoming the world champion, one of the youngest world champions in history in our industry. One out of, because, I'll be 25 very soon. And then I'll hold that thing all of 2022 and for the rest of my life. And I'll retire as the world champion. I'll take it to every company, and I'll just be the world champion forever. And that all starts January 16th on pay-per-view, Saturday night. It's going to go down, folks. You don't want to miss me becoming a 2-time X Division champion and making history. And my gear will be very tantalizing, and my jacket will be very scintillating.
Do you need to know any more? Sky's Box Office. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Wrestling with Stereotypes. Kel Dansby here. Andreas Hale. Till next time, we're out.
Peace.